Hello everyone, I'm Navid Farooq and welcome to another episode of Student to Faculty where we talk with faculties who once sat in these very classrooms. Today we are joined by another such truly inspiring example of what it means for life to come to a full circle. Our guest today, Nazia Binte Mahmud, completed her undergraduate degree in economics from Brac University back in 2020. She shifted her discipline and pursued her master's in anthropology, completing her master's in anthropology in 2023 from the University of Alberta. She returned to her alma mater back in 2024 and now teaches there as a lecturer in the Department of Economics. Her area of interests include religion, gender, Islam, and Sufism, and she also incorporates her interests in her teaching as well. She is also a member of the American Anthropological Association as well as the Canadian Anthropological Association. We are absolutely thrilled to have her with us today. Without further ado, let's move on. So, how are you, Miss?
I'm doing well. Since I started teaching, it has been a lot of ups and downs, but slowly fitting in, I guess.
So, starting with from your back to your student life, why did you choose to study in Brac?
It was mostly to avoid my school classmates, who most of them either were going abroad or they were going to other private institutions. And Brac was the farthest from where I live, and I thought maybe it'd be a good option to lay low and not meet with my other schools.
So, how would you say your time as an undergraduate student in Brac has shaped your personal and professional growth?
I think it had a very big impact. Because with the mindset that I entered with Brac, it's completely changed. My characteristics changed, my personality changed, the way I kind of viewed the world changed. It was very hard to basically settle in and transition to this new adult life, I guess, even though we were still kids. Because back in school, I felt like I was living in a certain kind of bubble, which was kind of it just popped open when I entered Brac. So the first 2 years were very difficult to manage. But what I did find was that I actually liked school. I actually like reading. I actually like not to spend on other activities that I thought was more important. So I feel like in Brac I actually found a kind of academic inspiration to actually focus on my studies rather than focus on other things, which I didn't find in school. So I think I was kind of like a very late bloomer.
Ma'am, so you have learned in the various faculties who have probably inspired you to pursue this path as well. So what would you say regarding one advice from a faculty which has stayed with you till now?
Well, I was trying to remember the name of the miss that I went to when I was at my lowest. I was in my second year, and I felt like all the life decisions that I've taken so far was wrong. So I went to her full of regrets. I was like, do you think I can survive this department? Do you think I can continue with economics and still be a good student? And she sat me down and she said that I believe even if you're doing poorly in your academics, you can still finish your degree and you'll still be an upstanding student, because a good student is the one who keeps on trying, right? And that kind of stayed with me for a very long time. And I feel like she helped me in a lot of ways in that that 1.5 hours she gave me in that office. It led me to basically finish the rest of the 2 years in Brac, and actually start loving economics again, because I had economics since my O-level days, right? So I was poorly economics, accounting, business, that was my area. But somehow starting with the undergrad degree, I felt maybe it's not the path for me. Because I was doing other courses as well, that was attached to economics, other fields. And I felt this actually might not be where I want to see me in the future. So I still liked economic courses, but it didn't settle well after a few courses.
That was very inspiring from her. So, ma'am, kind of explained like you started with economics and later pursued anthropology for your master's. So, what exactly drew you to anthropology, and when did you realize that you want to build a career around it?
So, confession, I didn't know what anthropology was when I was taking anthropology course. It was suggested to me as I was trying to find courses to take because I was fell short. And I was why don't you try Ant 101? I think you'll like it. I was like, what's that about? So they told me it's about these things. I remember I went to Shabirah to basically learn a bit more about Ant 101 course, and she kind of walked me through it, and I felt confident enough that I think I'll enjoy it. And my first class I did Ant 101 under her. My first class, I was this was what I had been looking for. It took me one class to understand that I think this is what what I've been looking for. Partly all the elements that attracted me to economics was there in anthropology as well. The areas that I would really like to focus on that also played a huge part in the economic industry itself. And I knew from that one class that this was going to play a very big part in the rest of my academic career. So I started taking more and more ant courses, and I took a lot more than my minor required me to, because I knew that that was what I was going to do my master's in. And I didn't do a double major only because I didn't want to prolong my stay at Brac.
So moving on, so as you transitioned from a student to faculty at Brac, did your perspective about the university shift also joining as a faculty?
In many ways, yes, because I felt when I was a student, I got to like Brac very slowly. I found my place as a student in Brac very at the end, right after I found my community within anthropology. So from there, it always holds a very special place to me. So when I started at as a faculty, it wasn't something that was planned. I found myself back in Bangladesh, and I figured there's an opening, I'll apply, let's see what happens. Never in my mind I actually thought it was I would land myself here, and I it was an extremely I was extremely happy.
So ma'am, as you know that the campus also changed from Mohakali, we have shifted to Bata. So what was the transition like from shifting from Mohakali to Bata, from your student life now as a faculty in Bata? If I'm right, you started your faculty career here in Bata.
I think it was in it's easier since I'm starting in this new campus. It's easier to make that transition from a student to now a different position at the same institution. By that, what I mean is that I feel like if I started at the old campus, it would have been harder for me to actually think that all of this is real and I'm not a student anymore, because I feel like I still feel like I'm doing extra work for extra credit, right? Sometimes I forget that I'm actually here as a faculty. But the old campus will always hold a nostalgic place for me, and I'm so jealous of you guys, honestly. When I go to the library and I see all the reading nooks and corners, because library was the place for me at Mohakali, I was always there constantly, right? That was my escape. So here, if I had this amount of facility, I would have been immediately there would have been a favorite spot, a favorite desk that I would always find myself in. So I really enjoy teaching here. It's open space. It's a great campus. So, yeah. way better than the classrooms in Maliha.
Yes, ma'am. So, what advice would you give to students considering a career in anthropology or pursuing an academic path here in the discipline?
I would say to not take the courses lightly and be heavily focused on since that, or you have a distant understanding that maybe in the future I would like to see myself in the academic field. Focus on the courses, focus on the readings, because most likely in your master's and PhD, you will have to go through the same readings, the same courses, and you have to do that again and again repetitively, right? So if you do most of the groundwork right now, it's going to be very easier for you to tackle graduate level courses, right? Because once you become a graduate student, there's a lot more to fit in rather than just doing coursework. You also become you have to teach classes, or you have to teach seminars, and you have to apply to multiple scholarships. You have conferences to take care of. So there are multiple adult things keeps on adding, right? So if you already are familiar and have a very good I would say background on the readings, it helps with the transition, with the classes, and even with understanding where your research interest will be in, right? So because as you go further, your niche will become smaller. The path will have to be narrowed down. So it's very important to have a very good understanding of the general theories that are present in anthropology. So focus on academic work, focus on the CGPA so that it stays well. Hold on to your notes, your undergrad notes, your copies, your reading materials. All of them are very, very important, and you'll constantly see yourself going back and looking through your notes, or the notes that you've taken in classes. That helps a lot.
So, ma'am, regarding for us students, what would you say are some common mistakes or misconceptions students have about university life that maybe you faced yourself that you'd like to address so that students have a better understanding?
I think for me, from my experiences, it's mostly CGPA doesn't really matter that much, or if I only focus on academics, I don't really have to do or be part of other extracurricular activities, or be part of clubs. And I made that mistake myself. So I was very reserved. I didn't join any clubs, and I was hyper focused on just finishing the school rather than experiencing it. So I would say, let's say if you want to see yourself in academic career, then join you guys are part of, join the newsletter express, join the student journal groups, so that you keep on adding that is connected with the career field that you would like to see yourself in, while also focusing on your studies, right? So choose the stuff that will be connected to you, that you will do in the later parts of your life, and it will also give you an insight to whether or not I actually like it. So practical experiences are also very important.
So, looking back, is there anything you wish you knew when you were younger and you tell your younger self now?
Yes, I would start with anthropology as my undergrad rather than economics, and maybe keep economics as my minor.
Ma'am, don't you think maybe studying in economics kind of helped you broaden your discipline, or maybe broaden your horizons in terms of understanding different things differently?
For sure, yes. But regret will always be part of life, and that's not something it doesn't have to be wrong. But I feel if I had the chance to go back, I would probably do that. But yes, economics helped a lot, and it helped me to learn. It helped me to see, take other angles, right? So yeah, I think I think it's like two things can be right at once, right?
So, ma'am, lastly, a fun question. What was your favorite memory of TARC, and not if you agree TARC friendships last a lifetime?
It doesn't, and if I had the chance to go back and not do TARC, I would. It's, I don't have any fond memories. It's something that needed to get done, and it just finished. I didn't enjoy TARC.
So, ma'am, you have no fond memories of TARC?
No. No.
Okay,
honestly, but I think majority basically enjoy their time here, and yeah, I mean it's a good place. So.
That was very forthcoming and honest, ma'am. So, thank you, Miss. That concludes our interview.